welcome back. This is Mary from Around the Craft Room. In our last video, we made covers. This is one of the covers that I made, and here's another little cover. And the first thing we do after this is to start getting our supplies together on what we need. So to make it look like this, I went out and picked up some sticks out of the yard. And the thing is, you need to get them cut or broke about the size of your journal. You don't want them too long because your journal's got to set on the shelf and you want to be able to put it on the shelf. So anyway, so you want the sticks about like that. The way I like to make my books, each book has got 5 signatures. Like I say, they're not very big, they're not very thick, but I just like the way they have different colors of fabric in here and how it's sewn in there. So that's why I do it with 5 signatures. So the first 2 signatures, or 2 of the signatures anyway, are very simple. They're just coffee dyed paper, and I just pour them all the way around the edges and then folded them together. So this is your first signature, and you're going to need 2 of those. And then your next signatures, you're going to need 3 of. So just gather some papers, whatever you have. Newsprint, some wetter or ledger paper. I've got some book paper in here, and just whatever you want. I don't make them too thick. I think I got like 7 pages in here, which would be about 14 folded together, something like that. And then I like to put on the outside of mine, I like envelopes. So I did an envelope on each side like this, and I just took the envelopes. They're just plain white envelopes, and then I took them and splattered sprays on them, a little bit of paint, whatever you want to put on them. Anyway, so this is the way the other signatures were made. So we're going to need 3 of those, and then 2 of these, and that will be your 5 signatures. And the way you put them together, I'll show you here in a minute. So what I need next, let me move that cover out of the way. So what we need next is strips of fabric, just whatever you can find. And then I of course, again, like fraying everything out, which is not that hard to do. It just takes a little bit of time to fray it out. But I need 2 pieces of fabric for each signature. So you'll need, if you're doing 5 signatures, then you're going to need 10 strips of fabric. I just cut them on the length of the book, and then just rip them, and then come back in, and you can take the ends of your scissors, you can take a seam ripper, you can even take needles or pins or whatever, and just go in and fray them out like that all the way around. Then I take them to my sewing machine because I have decorative stitches that I never use for anything else. Let me get one that will show up on camera. I've done several of these, and I've taken, and there's some decorative stitches, and I've sewn around them. Now, I like them to be they're a little hard to sew around if you're just doing straight fabrics like this. It might take a little bit, so I like to put them on some tearaway interfacing. So I take it and put it on this tearaway facing, which gives it a little bit of structure, and then I just sew around it with some decorative stitches like this. Yeah, like this. And then I just tear this off. This is just a tearaway interfacing. And if you need any of this, I've got a lot of this. Just contact me, the first 10 people who leave a comment and contact me, I can send you some of this. So that's what you do. You just use this tearaway facing. And if you don't have that, you can use interfacing that you can go in and cut away. You can also use old dryer sheets. You'll have to snip that away because it doesn't tear, but you can use that, even a couple of layers of it. I've used those before. You'll need 2 of those for each one of your signatures. So let me show you how we're going to put these together. I have also, you don't have to be decorative fabric. I also have some of this pretty green. I'm going to put that on this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put these 2 together, and turn it upside down, and then put glue here and here. And I leave me a little bit of space between it. So I'm just going to put some glue here, all the way down through here. And glue my pages on here. And then do the same thing on this side. But leaving a little bit of space between in the middle there. That way, when you fold it together, take for it to dry for a minute. When you fold it together, you will have this, after it dries on there like that, then you come back in and you can put this one in the middle. This is just adding some more decorative touches inside your book. And so you put this in the middle like this. There we go. And then again, like I said, it needs to dry, and then of course, then you put your book together like that. So this is how this one's going to look. Let me get that set aside to dry over here. And we'll start on this next one. But with this one, I'm just going to glue the envelopes down to it. So this one, I'm just going to glue the envelope here. And put him down here. And then on this side, I'll glue the other envelope down. And leaving a space between it, like that. Try to get the envelopes in the same spot there. And then I'm going to put this. Is that the same one? Looks like it's not quite the same one. Maybe I had a different one ready over here. Nope, that's the only one I have. So, oh, I guess that will work. Okay, so this one, I'm going to glue this whole thing down all the way around. So I'm going to glue them down to the signature, down to the envelopes, and then I'm also going to put a little glue at the top and the bottom to glue this down. So putting the inside in like that. And then this, putting all this in here, this is our signature, and this is how we're going to put this in here. And that's how we make our next signature. Again, of course, I've got to let this all dry. So let me set this aside and I'll be right back. Okay, so we're going to set this aside and then we'll start working on the sticks while these are drying. So I'm going to just put some ribbon on the sticks, and I just think it just adds a really cute touch to have this ribbon wrapped around your stick. So I'm going to do also look at your covers and see which kind of ribbon you like. I think I'm going to go with the green on this one. I was going to go with the yellow, but I think the green will look good. With this one, I've already wrapped it, and I've wrapped it in this goldish brown color. So I'll show you how I'm going to wrap the sticks. I have some double-sided tape that's just, I think this is a ½ inch maybe. Yep. Okay. So I have some ½ inch double-sided tape, which I think this helps start your ribbon on your sticks. I think I like this one. Okay. And then I just like to take a piece of double-sided tape and just wrap around the top of it. It's, once you pull the paper off, it's going to be clear and you're not going to be able to see the tape anyway, so that will be fine. And then I'll just pull that one's a little bit long, but that's okay. I'll just wrap it around. Take the paper off of it. And that will give me the glue to start my ribbon with. And I just take your ribbon and put it up here, start wrapping around like this, and then just go down to however you want to wrap your stick, like that. I think that's the easiest way to do it. And then when you get down to the bottom, it wouldn't have hurt to have already had that tape on there. Take another piece of tape and wrap around it. So it'll be like that. Take the paper off of it. And then when you get down to the bottom, you just wrap around until you get to that tape, and it just holds the ribbon on there, and then come back up like that on the other side, and then start crisscrossing your ribbon back up like that. It's real easy, except for when the tape sticks to your hands. Okay, so that's a real easy way of putting your ribbon on your sticks. And then it just sticks back to that tape at the top. Then just cut it off, because what you're going to do is you're going to take some yarn, or embroidery floss is what I like to use. Whatever kind of embroidery floss you like, and then wound let's see, what color do we want to go with? I think we might go with this gold brown, and then just tie it around your stick at the top. I'll just leave a little bit so I can tie it, and then just wind a bunch of it around here. And this is how you're going to actually sew the stick onto the book. So I need to make that thick enough that I can sew into it to sew the stick onto the book. I like to just wrap it like that. Now I'll just trim off my green ribbon up here, or maybe even wrap it where you can't see it very much. And then I'll just tie this on with a knot. And do the same to the other end. Same thing down here. I'm just going to start getting this embroidery floss on here like that, and that's how we put the ribbon and onto the stick. And after we get the book put together, then we'll sew the sticks onto the book. I think that's going to look good on there. Okay, now we got to go back and start putting our signatures together. Okay, we've got our signatures put together, and this book, for some reason or another, turned out very thick. I really don't think I'm going to like that being that thick. I don't know why. I've got 5 signatures in this one, and it's not very big. But this one just turned out awfully thick. So I'm going to take it back, and I'm only going to put 3 signatures in this. I'm going to take a couple of them out. So this is what we're going to have. Let's see which ones I want. I want this one, and this one. So we're going to choose 3 signatures, and then the front and the back. So I think that will look better. It'll be a nice size. That would still be big enough. Okay, so we're going to get ready to sew our signatures, and what I'm going to do is sew each signature individually, not into the book, because then I'm just going to attach them all together after I get them sewn together. So I've already gotten one sewn here. So they're very simple to sew. We're going to need some yarn, which I'm going to use the embroidery floss because I want different colors. Because I just want it to be different colors. So we're going to start with this one, and I'm just going to find the center, and then I'm just going to, what's the center of this one? I guess it's this page. Yeah. And then I'm just going to put some clips around it. Find some clips here. And just enough to hold it long enough for me to get started sewing it. There we go. Okay, so I need an awl, or you can use a big needle, whatever. Poke one hole in the middle all the way through, and then one about halfway between that, and then another one about halfway down to the bottom, one up pretty close to the top, and one close to the bottom. And then choose whichever color embroidery floss you want. I think I'm going to go with green on this one. And so this is what I'm going to use. So I need enough thread that's be about twice the size of that, a little bit more than twice the length of that. And then I'm using, like I say, using embroidery floss. So you know embroidery floss comes with 6 strands. But I don't need all 6 strands on it, so I'm going to go with 3. So I'm going to open that up, and I'm sure everybody knows how to separate embroidery floss, but in case you don't, I'll just take 3 strands on this side. You can do it in 2, or you can do it in 3. I'm just going to use 3. So take it, separate it like that, put your finger in the middle, and slide down. And just straighten up the bottom of it as you go. Put your finger in the middle and slide down. Get up the bottom of it, untwist as it goes. And of course, that's how you separate your embroidery floss. That way you've got actually 2 strands to work with. And then you need some large needles, or a large needle. I just have this little thing of needles. They don't have to be this big. They could be just large sewing needles. It's just easy. This is just easy because I have it for book binding and all that. And then I'm just going to take and put that through there, if you can, with a separated out strings. There we go. And I start at the top on the inside and go out that hole, if you can find where you poke the hole. Yep. Back in through the next hole. There. Oh, start over because I lost my string. Okay, start over. There we go. Don't lose the string. There we go. Now, where was that hole? There it is. I think I lost where the hole was. There we go. Back out the middle one. I'm not holding the book together very good here. I think I need another clip on it. In the next one, I keep losing where I've made the holes. There it is. out that one. And then the same way back up through the, and then you come back into this one. Now just make sure you don't split that thread, because that's the problem if you end up splitting your threads. And down through that one. And then back up through this one. And then you just tie it off. Sometimes you have to readjust them, get the thread down in the right spot or whatever. Kind of like pull it back. Just make sure you get them tight enough and pull the threads tight enough, and then tie it off. And that's how you sew one signature. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that for each one. And then we'll have all the signatures sewed together. And then we'll just take the outside of after we get all the signatures sewed together, we're just going to take and sew them all together like this. And just add some more decorative stitch on the outside. Yeah, I think 3 in this book is going to work fine. So we're going to sew the center one together, and then we're just going to whip stitch these all together along with the front of the back of the book, and then sew the stick on there. But I'll be back to help you do that. Okay, so I'm back, and I have all 3 of the signatures sewn together individually. And then we have the front and the back of the book. And I think 3 signatures are going to be just fine for this book. So we also have our stick all decorated and ready to sew on. So that's pretty much all we have left, is just to sew the stick on, which assembles the book all together. So I'm just going to put a rubber band around this just to hold it together. A couple of them maybe. And then I'll just to hold it together while I'm sewing it on there. You could put clips if you wanted to, but that will hold it, I think, pretty good. And then I've just taken some embroidery floss, and like I showed you before, separated it into 3 strands instead of 6. And I've just got a regular needle. To get embroidery floss through a regular needle, you're pretty much going to need a needle threader, because that's just really hard to get the 3 threads through without a needle threader. But you can put that through with a needle threader, really easy. And then all I'm going to do is to start sewing these together. Let me see if I can find a thimble. Okay, so I'm just going to go through and sew these 2 together, and then go back and sew these 2 together, and back and forth through the book. So I'm just going to pull this thread together like this. I keep hanging it up. Oh, there we go. Anyway, so, and then catch this one onto the next one like this, and my thimble down. I'm kind of, okay. And then just keep on going. And then catch and go back and catch this one onto the back cover like this. And then I'm going to go back because I want it, and then I'm going to just skip down a little bit and then take the back cover, sew it back onto this one. Hope this is making sense. Just basics, sewing across it and then back. And then coming back and taking that signature and sewing it into this one. And just pulling it tight to make sure it stays together. and then go back this signature into the next signature. And I just want it into the next signature, not the cover yet. And then into this signature, into the cover. And after I get this in here, I have to put my thimble on here. And then I'm just going to take this and I'm going to go the needle here, and I'm going to take this through part of that front cover up to about a 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch maybe. Up there. And then start again. Back through there. So I'm going to be doing that all the way down, and maybe, like I say, about a 1/2 inch, and then I go back and forth through all these signatures, and then back again and up through the cover like that to about a 1/4 of an inch, and then back and forth. And so it's not going to be like really fancy stitching or even necessarily pretty stitching. I don't really care that much because, like I said, I'm going to have a stick on top of this, and so it's really not going to show that much. So I'm just going to go back and forth through that whole thing like that. Okay, let me back up just a little bit. Before I sew this through here to start my next stitch, I went ahead and undid that right there. And I came back. Remember that little string I had left? I went ahead, after I sewed this first row back and forth, I went ahead and tied this in a knot here. So I'm just going to go ahead and use that little piece I had left and tie that first stitch, that first row in a knot. And then I'm going to go back up through this. Again, I'm going to go with 1/2 inch. And what you could do to make it even is you could actually go in and take a little marker and mark your stitches. So that's what I'm going to do there. And then I'm just going to, like I say, go back and forth all the way through. And then when I get to the top, I'm going to come back and find a way to tie that off. Okay, so I've got the stitching of the book all put together, and that pretty much has the book all stitched together there. And then I've still got the needle threaded where it came out there, and then all I'm going to do is take this stick and put it on here and decide which end I wanted to put up. I think it will be this one. And then all I'm going to do is put the needle through some of this thread that's wrapped around the stick and just stitch it back down to the book. So that's all you're going to do, is just stitch this back down. I'll probably wrap this around and stitch it back down on the other side. I'll do it a couple of times on this side. So then I'll come back down and do the same, get some more thread and do the same down on the other side, and we will have it done. All right, we've got it all stitched together. We've got the stick put on the end of it, and I think we've got our book all assembled. So, and it lays, even with the stick there on the spine, it still lays pretty much flat. So you can work in it and do whatever you want to do. So if you want to see me add some more fairy pictures, I have quite a few more fairy designs. I picked up some more, of course, from Temu. I love these. So if you want to see me add some more fairy pictures and some embellishments and things like that, just let me know. This is the other one that we made a cover of and put the stick on that one, and I finished that one up. And so now we have a couple of new fairy journals. Okay, one more thing. I mentioned when we were making the little strips to put in our pages together that I have some of this tearaway facing that I like to use. And if you would like to have some, the first 10 people who sends me a message, just leave me a message below this video and then go to my Facebook page, leave me a message, and I will send you a nice good piece of this tearaway facing fabric. Thank you for watching.